Hello everyone. We're at the 2016 National Retriever Championship in Bonham, Texas. And I'm with Richard Smith. Richard, how are you?
Very good, Pat.
Richard is gun captain, and Richard is quite the historian and has a long history in the Gunners Guild. And if you don't know what these guys do, you should know. First of all, I'm going to show you an article right here that was published in Retriever News in the 2012, I think, June issue. You should go back and take a look at this, because the history of these fine gentlemen that dedicate 2 weeks twice a year to come and shoot at our nationals and pop at our nationals is truly amazing. And they're great guys, and they have great food tent as well. Richard, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
And Richard, tell us a little bit about how you started in the Gunners Guild and a little bit about the history of the Gunners Guild.
Well, the Gunners Guild in itself was founded in 1939, and it's laid out in that article by an original letter. And it was kind of a satirical piece that was written to kind of explain how they thought that the Gunners Guild, or the group of gunners, they originally talked about it being a union, but it came out to be the Field Trial Gunners Guild. And the whole thing was all premised not around the people so much as it was about the dogs, and doing a fair test for every dog, and having the best gunners from the country from all 4 time zones. Right now we have 32 members in the Field Trial Gunners Guild, of which there are 26 that are active, and there are 6 that are inactive for varying reasons, mostly health as well as age. But as far as the guild is concerned, it's a group of guys. We do this, as you mentioned, twice a year in June and in November, and everybody that are members, it's a kind of a dedication to the tradition of doing the best that we can do for the dogs to make it an even test for every one of them. It's not about us, it's about the dogs.
Many of your members have judged nationals, won nationals, and how many nationals have you gunned for?
This will be my 33rd national.
33rd national.
But that's minuscule as comparison to some of ours. We have one that was 65 nationals, one 67 nationals. So there is, some of the fellows started back when there was just the NRC. Then, of course, when the National Amateur Retriever Club came along, now we're doing 2 nationals a year. Originally it was 1 national. But there's a, and it's kind of ironical when you go through. I've kept a list of all of the gunners from 2000 when I got back into it, because I started back many years ago, not to date myself, but as far as the fellows that we have, once they dedicate themselves to shooting 2 nationals a year, there are a series of pins. The Boomer pin, which is our red pin, the statement on it is, "Can you hit your hat?" And again, it goes back, it's more of a fraternal organization. There are no dues. Everybody is here because they just want to be here with each other, and it goes back to the tradition of the game. But as far as continuing on, you have a white pin now that is given, that signifies that you've shot 5 different nationals. It could be a combination of NRC or the NARC. But as we go along, we've picked up more and more people from each of the time zones, and it's kind of a self-fulfilling.
Fantastic stuff you guys do. I asked you two things I'd like for you to comment on. One is, you mentioned a little bit ago, new guy calls you up, says, "I'd like to be a part of the Gunners Guild." You told me a little bit about what you might say to him.
As far as myself in the Eastern Time Zone, and I know the other 3 do equally as well in doing it, is a person that wants to shoot a national Fine, I'd like to come and shoot a national once so I can say that I've shot a national. Well, that's really not what the Field Trial Gunners Guild is about. We want somebody, first of all, they have to have 3 different criteria. One, you got to be an excellent shot.
Yes, sir.
2, you've got to have the time to do it. So usually it's around people who are of retirement age or have their own businesses and they can get away. The other third thing is the financial ability. It costs roughly about $2,000 twice a year to come and shoot a national. Therefore, I keep going back to this. I keep harping on it. It's the dedication to the tradition of the game.
That's fantastic stuff. One of our viewers asked me, could you ask them to comment a little bit on some of the equipment they're using? You know, break action guns, some of the ammunition, how you manage to shoot some of these birds in these challenging situations at the distances you do.
Most of the guns are break action guns. Matter of fact, the National requires it to be a break action gun suitable to shoot steel. We get all our shells right now. They used to be donated by Winchester when John Olin was in the game, which is kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But Kent Cartridge donates all our shells now, and it's all steel. Rather than, sometimes we're on private property, sometimes we're on reserve property where we have to shoot steel, so we shoot steel across the board. Most of the shells that we're using, there's a couple of different kinds. Ounce and 1/8/6s in steel of the wildfowl fast steel that we use for the hens and for the ducks, and ounce and 1/4 fast steel and 6s that we use for cock pheasants. We also have a limited amount of the matrix shell from Kent in 5s that we use on cockbirds, especially a day like today.
Day like today, a windy day.
When you get into a windy day, some of us will put that in the second barrel and use the other in the first barrel.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the Flyers are going to make or break almost every national. So thank you for everything you guys do, and I appreciate you being here.
One of the other things we talked about is the
Yes,
fact
sir.
of the flyers, and it's important today to be shooting the flyer outside the test rather than in the test for safety reasons and also for the control of a bird. And there's kind of, you have to, it's safer and it's more successful if you're going to throw a flyer, whether it's a duck or a pheasant, to throw it downwind rather than crosswind. They can be shot equally as well in both places, but for the fairness of the dogs, and let's keep saying we're going back to the dogs, to have a common fall in the same spot for every dog is what we're about.
That's certainly the goal, but when you look at some of these tests that span 14 hours, conditions change for the dogs and for you guys, the gunning.
Conditions are going to change, but there's no sense making it, putting yourself in a hole to start with.
Richard, thank you so much once again. I appreciate everything you guys do, and thank you, everybody. We'll
Thank
talk
you
to you
very
soon.
much for the opportunity.
All right, bye-bye.